Hello everyone, this is Terry with Futures.io, and it's my pleasure to welcome back Aroussi for today's webinar, Prototyping Python Strategies. This is part 3 of his webinar series. If you have questions, please type them into the questions box, and we'll do our best to answer them at the end of the event. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, please do us a favor and give us a thumbs up if you enjoy the webinar. And as always, please feel free to share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us a lot. You can also follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter with @Futures.io for news, events, and trading-related information. And now, without further delay, I will hand it over to Ran.
Hey everyone. Just want to make sure that everyone can see my screen.
You should get the pop-up in just a second.
Yeah, I got something. Let me just see. Okay. Yeah, you should see my screen.
Yep.
Right. Okay, good. Let me just minimize the GoToWebinar thingy, and let's get started. Okay, well, welcome everyone. This is the third webinar, the third part of the webinar series about trading with Python. The first two webinars we covered prototyping trading strategies using Python. In the second webinar, we ran some back testing and looked at ways to measure the performance of your strategy, as well as optimize the parameters of your strategy. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to take what we learned so far and try to move our trading strategy into a live environment. Okay, so let's get started. Today's agenda is going to be short, maybe on topics, but it's going to get very technical as we move forward. So we're going to learn about how to work with the three types of market data for our strategy. We're going to see how we can use the end-of-day market data for any market and open or market or close daily strategies. We're also going to take a look at timed market data snapshots. For example, if we don't have a data feed, a live data feed, we can possibly query our broker or data provider every 5 minutes, 1 hour, or whatever, and just use that data to build our bars for the trading strategy. And finally, we're going to look at how to work with streaming data from, we're going to have two examples. We're going to use live examples from interactive brokers and Oanda. And of course, we're going to look how to execute and monitor trades in live markets. Okay, so that's the agenda. Let's get started. We have a lot to cover. Okay, working with market data. As I mentioned, we have three types of market data. The end of day. Usually, you use that for daily strategies, or at least for calculating any strategy that runs on daily frame, or on a daily time frame or higher, like weekly or monthly or whatever. We're also going to look at the timed market data snapshot. That's usually used for intraday strategies. And the third example is streaming data for basically anything. You can use that for sub-second strategies, for 1 hour strategies, for daily, weekly, whatever you want. You have the latest data at all times. So three types of end-of-day market data. We can use market data providers, live market data feed providers like IQ Feed or whatever, or your broker. That's the sources, the main sources that we have for end-of-day market data. Here's just a quick example of different providers. For historical market data providers, you can use Quandl or Yahoo Finance, endofdaydata.com, and the other tick data providers like Quantcode, tickdata.com. Very, very good and very high quality data. Of course, we can use the live market data feed providers like IQ Feed, Rhythmic, CQG, and so on and so forth. or the simplest and usually the cheapest way to get live feed is from your broker. And we're gonna look at examples following that that order, and in about probably 10 minutes we're gonna delve right into code. So here's an example for Quandl. Quandl is a great data provider. It has many types of data. It has time series data. It has fundamental data. It has very useful information that you can use for your strategies, like information about the population and pretty much anything you can imagine. They have it. Not all of the data types, of course, are free. Some requires a subscription, but the way they integrate with Python is extremely simple. You just download their library, and you can you go to the specific database. In that example, we use the wiki database, and we download the Apple symbol, and here we have the data that we need and available for working on. As you can see, they have the open, high, low, close, dividend, split ratio, and all the adjusted open, high, low, close, and volume as well. The part that's commented here is that you don't necessarily need to provide your API key to do queries, but if you want to exceed the daily limit for anonymous requests, then you're going to have to use your API key. I'm not sure what's the limit exactly, but the API key is free, so just sign up and get it. Here's another example of a continuous futures contract. Basically the same process, just a different database. As you can see, I'm using the CRIS database, and I'm downloading the front month for the crude oil. And here I have the information: the open, high, low, last, change, settle, etc. In the comment, you have links to the more Python methods that you can see, the complete Python methods available from Quandl, and to very useful database for probably you're going to use them a lot is the end of day data for stocks and continuous futures contract if you're trading futures. So that's Quandl. Here's a quick example of Yahoo. I'm happy to say that the data reader, the Panda data reader, finally fixed the Yahoo issues. They still have issues, but the issues are coming from Yahoo. They're very, very unreliable lately in terms of availability. Not necessarily specifically when you use Python, but when you go to their site, you sometimes are able to download the data, the historical data, sometimes you don't. So it's very unreliable. If it works pretty great, the data is pretty decent, but if not, you always have stuff like Google Finance and Quandl, of course. So that's Yahoo. I'm not gonna go into that any further because we've seen that in the previous webinars. A quick way to get if you're downloading data from any other provider, you're probably going to download it as CSV files. So that's just a quick way to load the data into your Python script. And if you want to have your data frame, Panda's data frame dataware, so you can just simply tell it to parse the data and make it the index. So by doing that, you'll have a much easier time to resample the data and play with it, slice it, or do whatever you want. So that's a very quick overview because there's really not much more to talk about for downloading and using end-of-day data. It's pretty simple. So if you want to download data from Oanda, for example, so Oanda has You're gonna need to sign up for Oanda. You can use the practice account, which I'm using here in the demo, and you're gonna get an API token and an account ID. I just saved it here in a config file, so it won't show up in the presentation. But basically, you just create, you just import the ONDAPI library, create an API object, and once you have that object, you can start accessing data from Oanda. So the way that it works, it's a very simple method. They did a great job in this library. I actually like it more than their latest one. They're in the midst of migrating the API to version 2 or version 20, as they call it. But I like this version quite a bit because of its simplicity. So it's very simple. Just get history, tell it to the instrument that you want. The granularity is a daily intervals, and the start date is the beginning of this year. And when you get the data, you get it's in the candles. You get an object, and in that object, in this dictionary, you're going to find it under candles. Here are two just quick lines just to make them the index data-aware and not string of date. But as you see, it's pretty straightforward the way that you get your data. You get the open, high, low, close of the bid and the ask. So it's very simple to get the data. Getting the snapshot data. You know what? Let me just switch. I think that it's going to be a good time to switch to the live notebook just for the example. So let me just, where is it? Oanda. Okay. So let me just run there, initialize the object, and let me just download the, here it is, the history of the Euro USD for 2017. And here's basically the same information that I had in the presentation. I don't think I'm going to use the presentation anymore. If you want to get snapshot data, basically you want to get the last price, bid and ask prices for the Euro USD. You want to get it, in this example, every 5 seconds, and just change that to 5 seconds. And we're gonna just doing a quick count here, just for demo sake. I wanna end the request after five ticks or latest price received. So this is a different function. I'm going to ask Oanda to get me the latest prices. Okay, I'm not going to ask to download the history, just the latest price, and you're going to see what it prints. So in about maybe 2 seconds, I'm going to get another one. 3, 4, 5, another one. So every 5 seconds, I'm basically making a request for the latest price data that they have. So that's how I'm getting the snapshot. So if you don't have access, not specifically with Oanda, but with any provider, if you don't have access to a live data feed, that's kind of a workaround to get a minute bar or second bars, or you can just get the data every few seconds and build your own bar, so to speak. Okay, so that's a quick example using Oanda. We're going to go to see an example of interactive brokers. First, it's important to know that if you want to access interactive brokers data, then you're going to have you're going to need the trader workstation or the interactive brokers gateway running on your machine with the API permissions. Let me just switch over to trader workstation. Going to get into global configuration, and here under API, I need to make sure that the socket enable ActiveX and socket clients. This is not a read-only API. I'm going to change it to 4001, the port. You don't need to do that. Just wrote all the script in the notebook with this port. So I'm just changing it. And precautions, I want to bypass order precaution. I just don't want the trader workstation to give me an alert every time I'm try to issue an order or execute a trade using the API. I just wanted to go straight through. Okay, so once I have these settings, just need apply, and yeah, now it should work. Let me go to the portfolio. Later we can see the orders I'm doing here. Let me switch back to the presentation, and you know what, let me just try to show both windows somehow. This is the window that currently I'm interested that you're going to see. Okay, so this is every time there's going to be a connection from the script, you're going to see it here. You're going to see it here under API connections. As you can see, it's listening to port 4001. So let's see how it works. So right now it's all set up. Let's look at the script. I'm going to use the EasyIBPy library here. I know that Interactive Brokers finally released a native Python API. I don't feel it's fully cooked just yet, anyway, I'm going to use the EasyIBPy library just for simplicity. It abstracts many of the code that you need to write. So we're going to import the EasyIBPy library, and we're going to initialize the object. Now, the way that it works, we're going to need to create a callback, and for this historical data, a callback, we're just creating a function that receives caller, message, and probably other keyword arguments. And if the caller is handle historical data, then I know that something regarding the historical data is going on, and I'm just going to set the completed variable here to the keyword arguments that's going to come through to that callback. Okay, so I really need that function. Otherwise, it's just going to work, but I'm not going to be able to know what's happening in the script or what's happening with the data. I won't have any feedback from the trader workstation when it's running. So that's the first step. I need to create a callback, basically what to do with the data. Whenever there's a historical data download, whenever there's an order execution, whenever there's a new tick coming in. So everything's going to happen in the IB callback method. Okay, I'm just initializing that method, and basically here's the main part. I'm going to connect to TWS. I'm going to work it line by line. Let me just show the line numbers. So the first thing is to connect to the trader workstation. I'm going to set the callback for the object to the function that I just wrote. Okay, so that's line 3 here. Going to create a stock contract for the Apple stock, and then I'm going to request the historical data in the daily resolution and with a look back of 1 year. I should note that I'm using a demo account here, so the actual market data is can be a little weird. So you're going to see just imaginary prices appearing every now and then in the data feed. So as long as and I'm going to have my script here sleep as long as the completed flag, which is right here in the previous cell, as long as it's false, I'm going to continue waiting for the historical data to download. And once that line was hit and the completed and the historical data was marked as completed, then I'm just gonna cancel the request and disconnect. So let's do a quick run and see. Let's try to show both. See, quick run and see how it works. As you can see, it's connecting and it's already disconnected because download is completed. And next thing here is just to access that historical data, and here it is. Okay, so it may not look as very straightforward, but believe me, that's one of the easiest ways you can access interactive brokers. Just a quick callback method. Just connect, request the data, disconnect, and the historical data is available to you. Okay, so that was the easy part. Okay, that's just downloading historical data from end-of-day data sources, Oanda, and interactive brokers. The next step is to work with streaming, with live and streaming data. Okay. I'm just going to set the log level because Oanda loves to throw many messages to the notebook. I just don't want them. So let's look at the streamer. In order to get live data from Oanda, you need to create a streamer object, and it pretty much will look it's pretty much always going to look the same. Like this part is pretty much going to look the same. The only thing you need to worry about 99% of the time is that method right here, the onSuccess. So whenever there's a new incoming tick or incoming data from Oanda, this method is going to get called. Okay, so I've created a very simple streamer here that inherits from the base Oanda Pi streamer. Just setting all my account IDs and the symbols that I request, and pretty much all this the streamer is just going to print the incoming ticks on the screen here. Okay, so let's create this method. Here I'm going to initialize the streamer. The environment is going to then practice environment, of course, and then I'm going to that's the line that's most important. I'm going to make it more visible. I'm going to ask Oanda to stream rates for the Euro USD. Okay, the rest of the code here is just so I can stop it from running without seeing any errors. That's the important line right here. So right now, I'm not making any calls every X seconds or whatever. Just whenever there's a new tick coming in, it's going to print it here. Whenever there's a new, hopefully everything's fine with my connection. Here's another tick coming in. So whenever there's a change in the bid or the ask, I'm going to get another. This onSuccess method is going to get called, and right now it's just printing it out. Okay, so that's the way you connect to Oanda for streaming prices. You can just pretty much copy and paste this code and just use this, change this function to do whatever you want it to do. Okay, let me just stop it. Okay. See, clean stop by user. That's what the rest of the code here is for. So let's see on just a nice example of using Plotly to live plot the Oanda data. I'm going to create a streaming chart on my Plotly account, and then I'm going to subscribe to Oanda streamer, and instead of just printing the data on the screen, I'm going to create a new data point on that chart. Okay, so the first thing is just to initialize the Plotly objects. I'm going to use the Plotly sublibrary and the graph objects. Here I'm going to grab my stream IDs. That's something that you create on your account, and then you have it available. There's a quick function here that I wrote just to save me the hassle of writing this code over and over again. But basically, you need to create here. You need to create a new streaming chart, and then you need to create a tracer for your data on that chart, and just get the URL. Okay, so if I'm going to initialize that function, and then I'm going to call it, I need to just passing along the token. This chart is going to have 50 points maximum visible on the screen. Just the title, and once I run it, I get the URL back. Okay, so I can open it in a new tab, and you're going to see that it's available on Plotly. Okay, right now it's empty because I'm not doing anything. In a second, I'm going to embed it right here in the notebook. I'm creating a new streamer. I'm basically using just the streamer that I already wrote, the Oanda basic streamer, and I'm overriding the onSuccess method. And what I'm going to do in the onSuccess method here, I'm just going to take the bid, the ask, and I'm going to plot the bid price on the chart. So I'm initializing the plotter. I'm going to embed the chart right here. Okay, see it looks a little bit different because of the screen ratio. And once I run this, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to initialize the streamer, the Oanda streamer, the Oanda plotter streamer. I'm going to connect to that stream chart. Okay, that's the stream chart. And then I'm just going to run the streamer. Just ask it to get the rates. Every time it's going to get to the rates, it's, as you can see right here, it's going to write it to the streamer object. It's going to write it to the on the chart. And once I'm done, I'm just going to close the connection. Let's see how it works. Okay, here's the first point coming in. Let's wait for the second point. Here's the second point. The same thing is going to happen here on the chart that's on a different tab. Okay, you can just switch back and forth. It's just the same chart, and it's plotting in real time live markets. Okay, let me just stop it. Okay, so it stopped. We got a nice figure here of the prices. Okay, hope that everyone got it. If not, let's wait for the Q&A section at the end. I'll be happy to delve further into this. Okay, let's do the same thing with interactive brokers. Okay, with interactive brokers, again, I'm going to I don't need to import it because it's already imported. I'm going to create a new AZIBPy object. I'm going to create a new IB callback. This time, the callback is going to handle the incoming tick data. Whenever there's a tick data, I'm going to access that specific market data for that specific tick. Basically, what I'm doing here, I'm just I don't need all that code. It's just for print to make it print nicer. I'm just converting into a dictionary, so it's gonna work. It's gonna work nicer on Jupyter. Okay. So basically, once I run this line, I already have the tick data. I don't need that that fancy schmancy stuff. So I'm going to create a callback, connect again. Set the callback to the callback that I just wrote, and you see the connection here. And right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a futures contract for the ES. Sorry about that. And I'm going to request market data. That's pretty much all that I'm doing. Everything else is going to be handled by the IB callback method. Okay, I'm just gonna wait here until all this code, pretty much what it does is just keeping the script alive until I hit stop. And once I hit stop, it's going to cancel the market data and disconnect from interactive brokers. Okay, so let's see how this works. Here's the tick, another tick, another tick, another tick. Okay, let's stop it. That's enough. And we were disconnected from the trader workstation right here. So that's how you do it using interactive brokers. Okay. We previously plotted Oanda's live data. Let's do the same with interactive brokers. I'm just going to initialize a new streaming chart. Again, the same, just using this different stream ID. That's pretty much all that's different, that and the title. Okay, so here's the second chart. Open it in a new tab. And we're going to see an empty chart just waiting to be populated. Close the one thing. Okay, the next thing is to write a callback method for easy IBPy that knows how to write to that streamer. So again, pretty much the same as Oanda's callback method. Just going to get the tick, and I'm going to write the last value onto that chart. Okay, let's embed the chart. So good. And here's again, I'm going to connect to that streaming chart. Connect to TWS, set the callback, create the contract for the ES, request market data, and pretty much that's it. Once I hit stop, I'm going to cancel the market data, disconnect from IB, and close the connection to the streaming chart. Okay, let's run it. Already see the connection. Here's the first data point, second data point, and we have it streaming live also in that tab here. We can zoom. I can see the data coming in live as a table on Plotly. This is very nice. Okay, let's stop it. We got disconnected right as we should. Okay, so far we've seen how to handle end of day data. We've downloaded historical data from Oanda and interactive brokers, and we've connected to live streaming data from these two brokers. So the next thing is to execute our orders. Okay, so here's just push this a little further down. So we'll start with Oanda. It's they're making it very, very simple. Just using the object that it's already created, the Oanda API object, and I'm going to issue the method. Let me just put Oanda here so you can see the orders in the trade window. So I'm creating an order for the Euro USD instrument. I'm going to buy at market price 1,000 units. Okay, and then I'm going to print the order data. Just run that. Should be very quick. And here's the order information. I can see it as a trade open. I can see the side. I can see the units. I can see pretty much everything that is available in the Oanda FX desktop application. Okay, here I see it as the trade. It's not trade string in the orders because the orders tab here shows pending orders. Once the order is filled, it's going to show up in the trades. Okay, let's send a limit order on the price that I know I won't get. I'm going to try to buy a Euro USD in the price of 1.1. Whenever you use a limit order with Oanda, you need to provide the expiration. So the expiration for that order, in case it doesn't get filled, how long is going to stay waiting. So what I did here is just get the now at plus 1 hour, so it's going to expire in 1 hour unless filled. Let's run that. Here's just like that. I'm getting pretty quick, I have to say. I'm seeing the order, and I can go here to the tab, and I'm seeing the I'm seeing my order right here, the pending order. I'm seeing the trade here. Everything is working very nicely. Let's just quickly get the positions, trades, and orders from Oanda and see what's going on with our account. In case we want to, in case we're going to need to monitor our orders, not just send them and hope for the best. So the way you do that is just requesting data about your position, trades, and orders. And as you can see, I see my position here, I see my trades, and I see my orders. The order is the pending order. Okay, so right now I have information on all of these objects. Let's close our position. Basically, I'm just going to issue a market sell order for the 1,000 units. That's my current position. And once I have it, I don't know if you've managed to see that, but the trade here just disappeared. If I'm going to request my position, trades, and orders, you're going to see that the trades and positions are empty, and I just have that pending order. If I want to cancel the pending order, I need to issue a close order request with that order ID. So I have the order ID right here. I'm just going to issue it, and the order is going to get canceled. And right now, when I'm going to run, when I'm going to see my positions, trades, and orders, they should all be empty, and they are. So that's how you basically work with Oanda. We now know how to subscribe to live data feed from Oanda and how to execute orders. So from that point to actually building a trading strategy that works on live markets, it should be very straightforward. We're going to see an example in a bit. Let's do the same with interactive brokers. I'm going to get that window to the front. Do that so we can see the portfolio here and our orders here. Again, I don't need to import that. I'm going to initialize the Easy IBPI object. Same thing, I'm going to create a callback. This time the callback will listen to the handle order caller. So whenever this function is called by the handle orders caller, I'm just going to get that order, that specific order, and I'm going to print it out. I'm just going to do that so just doesn't look like a greater than symbol. Okay, so that's going to be my my callback in this. I'm just printing out the order information. Right now, I'm going to connect to the trader workstation. Again, I'm going to assign my callback as the connection callback. Create, just put lines here. In line 5, I'm going to create the futures contract for the E-mini S&P. And line 8 and 9 are just going, I'm going to create an order that's going to buy one contract, that's the one here, and I'm going to get the order ID and place that order. Actually, don't really need that unless I'm going to do something with that order ID, which I'm not going to do at this moment. So I'm just going to place that order. Basically, I'm telling Easy IBPI to place an order for that contract with that this order information. I'm just going to sleep for 1 second, just let the order get filled, and then disconnect from TWS. Okay, if I'm running this, okay, we can see the order filled method here. I'm already disconnected. and I see my position here. Here's the order, here's the trade. Everything just worked very nicely, except for the P&L. If I want to look at my positions and portfolio information and order information, I'm just going to run this, and I'm seeing that my positions here, I have one position for this contract, for this symbol. I have that order information right here. So it's pretty, the status for that order is filled. So it's pretty easy to understand and figure out what's going on with this type of data. Let's say that I want to issue a bracket order. Okay, so I'm not going to change anything in my callback. I'm just going to change again, connect, set the callback, create the contract, and then I'm going to create a bracket order for that specific contract with quantity of 1. I'm using an entry that I'm not supposed to get filled for, just so we can see the order pending there. So I have the entry, I have the target, and I have the stop, the fixed stop order. Again, I'm going to sleep for 1 second, just to let the order get filled, and then I'm going to disconnect from Trader Workstation. Let's see how that works. Okay. As you can see, I have a little bit more information. So quickly go to the workstation. Here's my order. I have the buy, and I have profit take and stop loss attached to it. So it treats everything as one order. If I'm going to cancel one, it's going to cancel the other. If the target is going to get filled, of course, it's going to cancel the stop order. So it knows that basically this is one bracket order. And let's see the information that I got. First, I have, so that's line number 1. So here I have an order with the status open, and then the order is becomes pre-submitted. So it's just created, but it's not submitted to the exchange just yet. Then the order, basically, I have the order with an opened. These are my stop and my target orders. Basically, they're all created. So I have the information of all my my orders for the entry, stop, and target right here. I have the information. I know what's going on at any given point. If I wanted to just create a bracket order as a market order, I just can omit that part, or just put a price of 0 for the entry. It's going to be in market order. Let's print the order information, and here are my orders. I have the first one that I did earlier. It's with a field status. Then I have the submitted. That's the entry. Pre-submitted and pre-submitted. The two orders there are my stop and my target. So that's how you create a bracket order with Interactive Broker. Okay. You see the reason here. It says that child located. Here's a child locate trigger. So it knows that these three orders are connected. They're related to one another. Okay. Let me just cancel that order. If I'm canceling one, all gets canceled. Okay. So we also covered the order execution and monitoring with Interactive Brokers. Now let's see how we can combine all that information into some sort of a working trading strategy in the live market. So the template is basically we're going to subscribe to our streaming data. We're going to resample the data if necessary. So if my strategy relies on 1-minute bars or 10-minute bars, and I'm getting tick data, in the example of Interactive Brokers, if I'm getting tick data, then I'm going to need to create some sort of of a logic there that collect all the tick information and just create bars from it based on my resolution. So whenever so that's the first thing that I'm going to do. The second thing is whenever there's a new bar or basically a trigger for me to run my strategy logic, I'm going to need to write that strategy logic, and then I'm going to need to execute and monitor my orders and positions. Okay, so let's look at the thing that's going on here. Basically, I'm creating an empty object, bars and ticks, two empty objects with empty data frame. These are going to hold bar information and tick information. The strategy resolution in this example is going to be 1 minute. In Python, that's 1 pandas. And all I need for a look back is 100 bars. That's just a random number. Basically, this specific strategy can use only 2. So here's my callback method. It's a little bit longer than what we've used to. Right here, the callback handles 2 scenarios. First, it handles the orders. All it's going to do again is just write it like that. All it's going to do is just going to print the order information on the screen if the caller is a handle order type. If it gets a tick in the keyword arguments, as we wrote in the live streaming portion of the webinar, so I'm going to get the tick information. I'm going to append it to the tick collector. Basically, here I'm going to store all the ticks. I'm going to convert the index again to datetime. So right now I have a data frame with all the ticks that I received so far. I'm going to resample the ticks to the resolution that's going to be 1 minute. I'm going to get the ticks as bars. That's what's going on right here. I'm going to take the last, I'm going to resample it as open, high, low, close, and then I'm going to add the volume, which is just resample of the last size column, only with a different method, the sum method instead of the open, high, low, close. So right now I have the bars, the ticks as bars, basically, as 1 minute bars. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the last 1 minute bar from the ticks, and I'm going to replace it. Here, I'm going to replace the last open bar in the bar object with the latest bar that I have from the ticks that I just created. I hope that makes sense. I just want to have my last open bar or row, since it's a pandas object, the last row, I wanted to have the latest tick, the latest bar that was created from the freshest tick information. Hope that made sense. And then I'm just going to remove all ticks from the tick object, because I just don't want it to get bigger and bigger and bigger, which is unnecessary. I'm going to check its length before I'm removing the old ticks, and if the length changed, it means that I have a new bar, and then I'm going to call a new method that I'm going to create on new bar. This is when I'm going to run my trade logic. So basically, all that code is doing is just basically creating 1 minute bars from tick data. Again, I can use another approach, just using snapshot data every 1 minute, just kind of connect to IB and get information. But I like to do it using tick data. I'm not doing this in this specific example, but I like using tick data just so I can manage my position better and not just wait for the new bar to be created in order to run my trade logic. So here I have another shot at it. Okay, I really hope that made sense. It was a little bit technical, but really all we need to remember is that this part right here just create live minute bars from interactive brokers tick data. Again, it's not, I don't know if I mentioned it, it's not really tick data, it's not tick by tick data. It's what they call aggregated tick data. You're gonna get tick information every 300 milliseconds or so, so a few times per second. Okay. This is basically where I'm going to run my trade logic. This is a very stupid strategy. Basically, what this strategy is doing is I'm learning about my position here. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm learning about my position, and I'm creating 2-minute simple moving average using the close. It's not the last. Using close data. And then I'm going to just to make the rest of the code here look nicer. I'm converting it into a dictionary. And basically, as long as the close should be close here, as long as the close is higher, whenever close is higher than the moving average, and my position is either flat or short, I'm going to go long. What this code is doing is just making sure that if I'm already short, I need to already short one contract, I need to buy 2 contracts in order to be long 1. Of course, if the close is lower than is under the moving average and the position is flat or +1 or long, then I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to set the order quantity to -1 or -2, depending on whether or not I was long or not. So if the order quantity, if there was a decision the order quantity is not 0, I'm going to just enter into a position. Okay, it's going to be crazy here. Okay, we're going to wait for at least 2 minutes in order to see something's happening. Again, all I'm doing is connecting to Trader Workstation. I'm going to set the callback, create a futures contract. I'm going to get the contract string just so I can access the position specifically to that specific contract and not all the position in my account. And I'm going to request market data. And from that point onward, everything's going to be handled by the callback. And again, whenever there's new bar, it's going to call the on new bar method. I really, really hope that made sense. So I'm going to run this. We're going to need at least 2 minutes. You know what? I remember why I had the last there. Let me just do something crazy. Just not to make you guys wait. I'm going to do this. I'm going to run the same strategy. I'm just going to do this with a tick, with the raw tick data, so we don't have to wait a few minutes to see to get an order executed. So I'm going to do this with the raw tick data. It has the last column instead of the close column, and right now it should get. Okay, so you're going to see here what's going on. So just entering and exiting an order depending on the whether or not the latest tick was higher or lower than the average of the latest 2 ticks. So it's pretty crazy, but that's what's going on right now. Okay, so I hope you understand why I changed it to work with raw tick data instead of bars, just so you guys won't have to wait to see something happening. Let me just stop that. And here I have all the trade information. Let me just toggle the scrolling. I have all the information, all the decision. I can see when the order was opened and filled and what what the logic was. So basically, that script right there is very quick and dirty, and probably very unprofitable trading strategy that works on live markets. Let me just remove that again, just so you'll have it when I'll give you the notebook. I want it to be with me in the data, as it makes more sense. Okay, so I think we've covered pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. We've seen how to scrape or get end of day data, how to connect and work with streaming data, execute orders, see our positions in real time, and in this last example, we got a little bit technical. We saw how to combine everything and create our own version of a working trading strategy on live market. By working, I do not mean profitable at all. Okay, so let me just go back to the presentation. To be continued. This was part not 2 but 3 of our 4-part webinar series. We had again prototyping, backtesting, live trading. On the next webinar, I'm not sure when it's going to be, we're going to see how we can use machine learning in trading. So that's it for me. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And as always, it's Q&A time, if anyone has a Q. Terry?
There we go. Sorry, I had to get my mic unmuted. All right, guys, go ahead and start typing in your questions if you have any.
I always say that if there aren't any questions, I was either very clear or extremely unclear. So,
I'll give them just a few minutes. They could be typing them out.
Yep. Just close that for.
Okay, let's. Please describe the program flow for issuing a market order to Oanda, confirming that the order has been filled, and then closing the order.
Okay. If we go back to the demo here, where was it? Let me just, you know what? Let me just do it. I think I had it in the presentation. I think it's okay. So when you create an order with Oanda, that's basically how you issue a market order. The code is pretty much right here. The first thing is you just create an Oanda API object and then issue create order request with your account ID. You specify the instrument that you want to buy or sell, the side that you want to execute on, and the units that you need. And once executed, you're going to have that information. You're going to have that information, and you're going to see exactly what's your position and what's your order status. If you want to know whether or not that order has been filled, as I mentioned before, just skip here. You can call these 3 methods, and you see whether your order is in the trades object or in the orders object. If it's in the trades object, then that means that the order was filled, and if it's if the trades object is empty at that point, your order is probably pending, and it's going to be in the orders list. It's pretty much the same as it is with their desktop API. You're going to see it either in trades in case it was filled, or in orders in case it's waiting to be filled. Does this answer your question?
Let's see. I believe so.
going to post
Yes,
this
they put
notebook.
yes. She put yes. Okay.
Good. This notebook is going to be available, of course, in the GitHub repo,
Okay.
probably in about 10 minutes, so you can delve into the code there.
All right. And as soon as I see it's up, I'll tweet it out as well.
Sure.
Do you use this for live trading?
I use well, yes and no. I use the same type of code, but it's wrapped up in my own library that I'm using, the QtPy lib. It's my quantitative trading library that I wrote for live trading, but it pretty much follows the same logic as was shown here. I wanted to show here pure Python methods as much as possible instead of just using live trading framework or library that you don't exactly know what's going on under the hood. I thought it was very important for people to understand really what's going on. But yeah, the library that I'm using basically use the same type of methods for creating bars from tick data and executing orders using the same easy IBPy library and so on and so forth. That's what I'm using.
Okay. It says I develop trading strategy or trading systems using spreadsheets. In order to automate them, what is your opinion of using Python for such a conversion?
I'm not sure I fully understand the requirements there. You mean that you use the spreadsheets to for your trading logic, for signal generation, or if that's the case, you can get Python to read your spreadsheet on timed interval and just execute the orders based on the signal column or whatever you have there. If that's what you meant, then that's the way you're going to do it. You're just going to read that spreadsheet instead of doing all the calculation in Python. If you're not very comfortable with it, you can continue using your spreadsheet for signal generation and just have Python read it and execute the orders based on the again on the signal column or whatever. I hope that what you meant.
Okay, I'm waiting to see if he responds. Are there any, in your opinion, what would be the downside or holdbacks of using Python for live trading?
Well, unless you are really into high frequency trading, then I don't see any drawbacks per se. I mean, Python again. I think I mentioned it in the first webinar. It's not the fastest language around, but if you're doing, if your strategies are anything, are using a 1 second time frame or higher, then you should be good. So I don't know. I like it. I mean, if you're a Java programmer, you're probably going to feel more comfortable with the Java environment. But it's all a matter of taste. There's really no downside in terms of performance unless you're really into high frequency trading.
Ah, okay. Okay. Okay, there we go. Sorry, the mute button on my new mic is I'm still getting used to. I think that may be all of the questions. I'm not seeing anything else. Oh, there we go. As soon as I say something, now they get it. Okay, he says yes, that helps. Furthermore, I assume you could use the same mechanism to generate the signal, and Python could then send it to a trader or client for execution.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Stacy says, assuming an order has been placed in Oanda and a change is desired, is the order number a key, or do you search the orders list to identify the order to change?
Every order has a unique number to it. So you have the order ID. So once you created the order, it's gonna be a good idea to just remember what that ID was. It's stored in some variable somewhere, and that way when you look up your orders, you know exactly which order to access using that ID and see exactly what's the status for that specific order. So every order is going to have an ID. It's not going to change throughout the lifetime of that order.
Okay. And how do you get a hold of the order to change it?
Okay. Let's just run quickly there. Yeah. Okay. So as you can see, I have the order object here just created. This is a market order, but it doesn't really matter. I'm sorry, a limit order. I have the order information right here. So in the order, this is all the information I have about the order. And so basically under order, order opened, that's the status here. I have the ID. Okay, so and furthermore, if I'm looking at the orders list, here are the orders. I have its ID right here. So it's available to me. I have the ID of the order. Oops. Okay, I have it here once I create the order, and I have it again when I get the full list of orders from Oanda. I don't know if you remember, but the way that here it is. In order to close a pending order, I must use its order ID. So I cannot, if I have an open position, I can just buy or sell, do the opposite trade in order to exit the position. But if the order is pending, I need to have that specific order. So I'm getting it from the orders object, and I'm just issuing a closed order. So here's a good example of when I have to use the order ID and how I keep track of it.
Okay. All right, we're over the hour mark, so I'm going to make this the last question. Can you give us any clues about the next book?
The next book?
Yes.
Next book. What do you mean?
I'm not for sure. They said that the next book. It sounds like you're writing a book, or
no.
I have no idea.
Not that I'm aware of. The next webinar, I'm gonna guess that's
maybe
the next webinar is gonna be about machine learning, basically how using different methods to try, and emphasis try, and predict future price changes in the market based on historical data or some sort of a learning algorithm. So that's what we're gonna do in the next webinar. It's gonna be a lot more technical than this one.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Oh yes. He said he meant topic, not book. Okay. And then this one slid in, so I'll ask it, and this will be the last. How can one get unfilled order data?
Unfilled order data. So with Oanda, it's pretty simple. You just hitting the wrong key. You just call the get orders. Okay. Whenever it's filled, it's going to be trade. So that's the way they separate it. So if you want to get unfilled orders, you just use the get order method to get any unfilled order information. With interactive brokers, here it is. No, that's order execution. Yeah. So in interactive brokers, when you call the here it is, the order information, you're going to see a list of your orders, and it's going to have a status. It's going to have a status of filled, open, pre-submitted, submitted, rejected, canceled. You're going to have full information of exactly what's going on with your order whenever you access it. And you also going to get that information not just by looking at the list of orders. You're also going to get that information in in your callback. So whenever you're going to access your callback, that order object right now is going to hold all the information that's available for that order. For example, here we see that we have that order with the status of open. Then it's the status is changed to submitted, and finally the order is filled. So probably going to see these two with every order that you're going to send, and the last thing is going to change based on what's going on with your account. Is either going to get rejected or filled. So that's where you get the status information for your orders. I hope that helped.
Okay. Thank you for the webinar today. And again, as always, the excellent information you put together. And most importantly, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, guys. Hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye-bye.